Hello and welcome, folks. Chris here from the Ministry of Dice, otherwise known online as the True Mr. Six, and I'm here today with the latest video in our Having a Brew series. The Having a Brew series, for anyone who doesn't know, is all about taking a card or a combo or a team archetype and sharing some reflections, some thoughts, pointing out some of the key things, stuff that's going on in that space, and just getting under the skin of it a little bit. And for today's video, what I'd like to do, it's quite a lengthy title, folks. I apologise for that. Is I'd like to talk about the top Dice Masters team archetypes from the 2018/19 modern meta. Yes, it's been a very long modern meta. In 2019, WizKids did not rotate card sets, and so there's been a number of kind of popular key team archetypes that have been around for quite a long time. And this video here, it might be of particular interest to any new players who recently joined the community, who'd like to get a little bit of context around some of the more classic teams, I suppose, of this modern meta that are often talked about in videos and podcasts and on the social media. Or it might be of interest, I suppose, to a more long-standing player who would be reminded of a team that they enjoyed maybe a year or two ago that they've not dug out for a while, and with a whiff of rotation or coming on the horizon for 2020, perhaps want to dig that team out and give it a bit of a last hurrah before some of the key cards rotate out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about aggro teams, going to talk about control teams, going to talk about combo teams, and then a bit of a kind of heavier variant on aggro, the kind of big beat stick beasties, and just highlight some of the popular key teams that were knocking around in that long modern meta, to just walk through it. As you can see from my very exciting icons there, I've got my aggro on the left, and the little control stick, little combo with the two arrows, and the beat sticks are represented by that big growly dragony monster. The fifth column is clearly just a pile of dice and doesn't represent any of the team archetypes, but I couldn't think of a fifth one. But I like the 5 columns and the way they sort of work, so I put that one in there. But these have been acquired from the depths of the internet and shall be attributed to the artists in the description below. So let's get on with it. Let's have a chat about some of these key team archetypes. I'm going to start with an aggro list. The aggro fish slap. Yes, the fish slap made a splash, if you will, at the One Big Weekend around springtime in 2019. Jesko, playing out of Slovakia, kind of brought this one to the forefront of the attention of the worldwide scene by taking part in the One Big Weekend online event and giving this its day to shine. And the kind of key cornerstone of this bad boy is this 2-cost shield here, Atlantis Wealthy Kingdom, which lets you draw 2 dice and roll them whenever you field a sidekick, and comboed up with the classic sidekick generator, Professor X No More Magnus from the X-Men First Class set, who's got the global there where you can pay a mask to field a sidekick from your use pile. So you get your Atlantises bought up, they're nice and cheap to start getting a few of those together, then use the Professor X Global to guarantee the ability to field a sidekick. Then what you're looking to do is kind of kick off this massive churn where you're drawing and rolling, 2 dice, 2 dice, 2 dice, to get as many sidekicks together as you can from rolling those 8 sidekick dice to fill up your field. But to enhance it there, what's a popular move in this archetype is to fill it up and take advantage of the ally game text, which means that the character dice count as sidekicks when they're in the field zone. And this guy here, Wong, the 2-cost fist with fast and some lovely stats there, is certainly a very popular ally to pair up and play around with in this particular team list archetype. So you've got your Psychic mating global with Professor X, and then you've got your Wong Psychic ally dice to guarantee that you're kicking off that Atlantis to really rush your field with as many little weenies as possible, little Psychic weenies, and then drop something like this bad lass into the mix, throw a Black Widow, the Widow's biting, who's going to give them all +1 attack, and get right up in the grill of your opponent with a hefty attack. And this is why it's called the fish slap, because you can go from 0 to I don't know 10 damage very, very swiftly. So if I'm clever enough, what I'll do is I'll try and link back to a video or two of Jesko's kind of first outing with the fish slap team that kind of really put it on put it on the radar of the competitive scene. If I am clever enough. If not, I'll put the link in the description, I suppose. But there you go. There's the Aggro Fish Slap team. Nice and cheap, nice and quick, very aggro, getting up in your opponent's face and transforming just very cheap, low maintenance resources into something that can actually be quite devastating. Staying on the same sort of theme and sticking around this kind of aggro space, we've got the Aggro Unblock-able Weenies. Also very popular, actually, around the same sort of time, where taking small unblockable characters that became unblockable in certain circumstances and then pumping them up to turn that what could be considered relatively insignificant at one point in the game, that dice that's considered relatively insignificant, and turning it into something more significant by buffing it up. And the guy that really took this strategy to the next level was the Parasite Maxwell Jensen from the DC Justice campaign box. He's 2-cost bolt, and he can give his attack and defense stats to another dice just before declaring the attack step. So take your unblockable weenie, do whatever activity is needed to make that weenie unblockable, and there's quite a few. I'll show you an example of one in a sec, but then slam Parasite stats on, which are not insignificant, you know, at 2-3-3 on the attack side, and charge that unblockable guy through to transform a very low attack into a suddenly very big and threatening attack. One popular guy to combo up with this was this guy, the Poxwalker Mindless. 2-cost fist. It's got swarm, but as you can see there, Poxwalker is unblockable when attacking alone. So like I said, feels very insignificant. You know, he's like 1-1-1 in terms of attack, but with 1 or 2 parasites in the field on level 2 or 3, suddenly you're throwing +3 attack on him, +6 attack on him, and charging him through. To make him a 7 attacking beast. And because they're so cheap, you can get your hands on these very early doors, turn 1, turn 2. You could be having a fairly hefty attacking Poxwalker, nice and aggro, stomping across the field. Nothing your opponent can do about it. Well, some limited things, you know, distraction global it back, for example. However, this was one kind of popular. However, there were others. So turning sidekicks into unblockable weenies was another popular strategy knocking around at that time in the spring last year, using the insect play global. So just field a sidekick, get him out, get your hands on as many parasites as you can in the first 2 turns, get them out in the field, and then just buff up a sidekick with them, make that sidekick unblockable using the insect play global, and again charge across. What was just a 1-1 little weenie suddenly becomes a 4-4 or 4-5, or even with several parasites, just buffing it up even more and making it a very scary prospect. What you also found with teams from this team archetype was pump globals like this one here on Excessive Force. Although now I realise, I'm into the recording of the video, the more appropriate one possibly would have been the Hulk from the Mighty Thor set that's a fist pump global, because that was the one that was sort of paired up with Poxwalker there, taking advantage of this fist swarm. But you know, you pay the relevant energy and add even more to the attack. Or something else that I saw done quite often was to use the outsider global, which is pay a fist to give +2 attack to target villain, pumping up the parasite prior to then passing his attack and defense stats onto the unblockable weenie. And the Poxwalker and the sidekicks were examples of the unblockable weenies, but there were a few knocking around. There's an Ant-Man, the Awaken Ant-Man that becomes unblockable when he spins up. I think he was from the Avengers campaign box. Someone correct me in the comments if I'm wrong. Or Yuan-Ti Pureblood. I think it was the common Yuan-Ti Pureblood who became unblockable when an action is used. When you use an action, I should be more accurate. So there were a couple of other kind of, and these were all 2-cost, cheap little weenies. Get them out in the field, buff them up with Parasite, buff them up with Pump Globals, and then fire something with a relatively low attack through to something even more scary. So there you go. There's your kind of 4 key cornerstones. Now you'll notice, folks, that I'm not really diving, you know, I'm not giving a whole team overview. What I'm just trying to do is give a feel for the kind of key cards, the 3 or 4 important areas that you need to cover with these given teams. And what I would be interested to know is, you know, for example, if you're doing a Poxwalker Parasite team, what kind of things did you fill that up with? What did you top up with the other 6 teams? Certainly, with a Poxwalker team, an unblockable Poxwalker team, you might want to think about a bit of global control to stop things like the distraction, blink transmutation, Kate Bishop, static field globals that push back attackers, or stopping from being targeted by things like magic missile to ping him off before he gets to the attack step. I'll talk about that a little bit more later on, actually, with one of the other teams. But yeah, let me know in the comments below, what did you top up some of these archetypes with? Anyway, swiftly moving on so it doesn't become a crazy, overwhelming video to watch, let's have a little bit of a look at a control team. And here's the classic, the villain control team. The cornerstone of this team is the collector Tainlaer Tivan, who's the rare from the Guardians of the Galaxy set, who can pull in dice with a 2-cost discount to reap the benefits of their effect. And the reason why he's the cornerstone of a villain control team, well, there's a couple of reasons, but firstly, with a card like Norman Osborn, Don't Call Me Gobby, he gives villain control an opportunity to actually be able to deliver some damage, but also the fact that he can field dice from your side of the table or your opponent's side of the table means that you've suddenly expanded your card pool from the characters that you've got to the characters your opponent has as well. So you can take advantage of any control mechanic that's going on in that total pool of cards from across your team and your opponent's team. So if you want to reach over and use their Venerable Dreadnought to counter their Venerable Dreadnought so that you've got range of your own, then do that. If you want to take advantage of their Shriek, then reach over and field one of their Shrieks, and that's kind of what the villain control piece of the collector is all about. I'm not going to dwell a great deal on this guy because I did a video talking about the collector team that I used in the Rest of Worlds tournament and that took me to the top spot at Rest of Worlds tournament as well. And again, once again, if I've been clever enough, hopefully I've managed to make a little pop-up link appear on the screen there so you can go and take a look at that video. But certainly, just to give some context, there's loads of villain control that you can load up a villain control team that's based around the collector Nobby combo. Madam Mask here is just an example. Clearly, a lot of people are really keen on using this stupid card, Shriek Sonic Beam, but loads besides. Blob, I can think of, Wrecker, Scarlet Witch, they all immediately spring to mind as these kind of high control, really oppressive villains that you can use to interfere with your opponent's strategy, but then use Norman Osborn and the Collector to turn them into something that can also contribute to dealing lethal damage. So there you go, villain control. Let's have a little bit of a chat about a combo team. This one's relatively new on the scene, but it's certainly making waves. We've got the Mutant Messiah combo. Mutant Messiah combo because Hope, Pluripotent Echopraxia. She is the Mutant Messiah for lore fans, that allows you to copy X-Men dice with her. And she's proving particularly popular as a combo piece because you can pair her up with such beefy damage dealing. I say beefy, I don't mean beefy in terms of stats, although she has got some pretty hefty attack at the top end there for a 2-cost, but beefy in terms of the damage dealing capacity of Boom Boom that lets you deal 2 damage when you use a basic action die. So you're just essentially using Hope to double up the effect of that X-Men character. Boom Boom is particularly popular because she's cheap too, so you can get a Boom Boom and a Hope out, with Hope copying Boom Boom's game text to double that and end up dealing 4 damage each given turn. But I've seen teams built around Jean Greys, I've seen teams built around Sage, Cyclops, so you're just using Hope to double up and reap the rewards of X-Men game text, or using it to access expensive X-Men game text quickly. Euro Championship last year in November, we saw her being used with a 7-cost Rachel Summers, for example. And as I say, I've seen her used with 6-cost Jubilee. The reason I mentioned Jubilee is because she's on the list here. Oh, sorry, just actually, before I get to Jubilee, I've just chucked Throwing Brick on there because that was clearly the popular action to use with that combo. So you'd have Hope copying Boom Boom, so both Hope and Boom Boom would deliver 2 damage when an action is used. Use a Thrown Brick, deal 4 points of damage to your opponent, but also because by selecting which dice you hit with the Thrown Brick, you can move it to prep and guarantee that you're dealing 4 damage the following turn. But the reason I mentioned Jubilee, going back to my little slip there, was because one of the other popular kind of combo pieces to use Hope with, we saw this at Worlds over in North America last year, and we saw it at the Euro Championship last year as well, September and November respectively, is using the Hope Mutant besides copy Jubilee to double up that ping damage when you're fielding sidekicks. But certainly that's just some examples. Go and dive deep into the wealth of X-Men characters and what they're capable of doing, because there's lots of fun combos there. And don't even get me started on using that in Golden. Right, what's next on the list? I've had a sudden brain fart and I can't remember what it was. Oh, of course, the Ice Blast combo. The Ice Blast, blah, 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 blah. Let's try that again. Oh, of course, the Ice Blast combo. There you go. Queen's English. Received pronunciation like the BBC. I don't think I did sound particularly received pronunciation then. Anyway, I'm in the weeds. The Ice Blast combo. Yeah, here we go. Here he is. Iceman, right on schedule, 4-cost bolt. He deals 2 damage to target opponent when he takes damage during the attack step. Again, I'm not going to dwell on this guy a great deal because I've done a video about Iceman teams that I'll put a link in the description, or like I say, if I'm clever enough, I'll put it on the screen right now so you can just click on the pop-up if you want to. Although actually, should I be encouraging you to jump over to other videos while we're partway through watching a current video? I don't know. I'm not sure. Is that like the done YouTubey thing? Probably not. Although I do know from the analytics that a lot of you have probably ducked out around about now in terms of timing. So if you are that person who only watches half a vid, see ya. Thanks for coming along. But if you're sticking around, let me tell you a little bit about Iceman. So Iceman here is paired up with Magic Missile. You initiate the attack step, generate a load of bolts, fire them into the Magic Missile, targeting the Iceman, and do 2 damage for each hit you drop on him. And of course, with those stats, 4, 6, 6, you've got the capacity to do up to 12 damage if you're willing to KO him. Up to 12 damage in that turn. Loads of great stuff you can combo up with that, of course. But the key combo there is the Magic Missile. I've got the Chwinger here because one of the things you really need to be able to do is to generate loads of bolts to plow into that Magic Missile. So Chwinger Swarm is a great way of doing it. Or you've got the Techno Global there, which is turning your sidekick dice into bolts by paying 1 bolt. So just generating loads and loads of bolts and then just firing them into the Magic Missile. But loads of stuff you can do. You can increase Iceman's defense stats, so he has the capacity to take more damage. You can take advantage of that bolt synergy to and the Magic Missile to KO opponents' characters, should you wish. KO your own. Use bolt-driven pump globals like Excessive Force earlier to do a little pivot switcheroo. And so lots and lots of things you can do in this space here. But those are the kind of key cards there. You want your Iceman, you want your Magic Missile or your Unstable Canister to ping your Iceman, and then you need a way of generating loads and loads of bolts. There you go. But if you want a more detailed look at a team I built recently around that, then jump on over to that other video. Okay, moving on swiftly. I've got no idea how long this has gone. Another combo list, the Mini Lantern Ring. So some years ago, the Lantern Ring limited only by imagination was very popular in the War Light set. And then when Justice came along, we got a kind of mini version of it. In this guy, the Green Lantern Human. He still has the same game effect in essence. He deals 1 damage to target player for each energy symbol in your reserve pool that matches that character's dies energy type. Tongue twister there. But the distinction here was that it's Justice League characters only, and Green Lantern as a character also. He comes in a little bit more expensive at 5 cost. It was a 4 cost on the original action version of it that was in War or Light. So I've put this in the combo category there with my little arrows in the cog, because what you need to do now is take a look at your kind of Justice League affiliated synergies and see what you can do there. And one of the popular cards that we saw with this team, specifically actually Ben Said Scott's US Nationals winning team. Was it US Nationals he won with this? No, Arj won US Nationals. It was his Worlds winning team. Did he use this at Worlds? Professional preparation, folks. This is professional preparation. You're seeing a YouTube master at work in front of your eyes right now. The research that has backed up this video is clearly second to none, and don't you forget it. Anyway, Hawk Girl, she's a 2-cost mask Justice League character. So she's got that mass synergy with the Green Lantern himself. She's got this little bit of added value because she spins up when she attacks. But also look at those stats for a 2-cost. She's 144 at the top end, which is not to be, not insignificant, not to be sniffed at all. So get yourself loads of Hawk Girls, nice and cheap. Fill up your bag with the mass from the Hawk Girls. Maybe get 1 or 2 in the field. Get a Green Lantern in the field, and then just attack relentlessly to deal that damage per dice. So if you've got a Green Lantern and a Hawk Girl in the field, and you generate, let's say 4 masks, then you'll be doing 8 damage in total when they both attack. So that's a pretty hefty thump. Another cheap Justice League character, keeping with the mass synergy that was sort of popular with this particular list archetype, was the Question Vic Sage, 2-cost mass. He's a gadgeteer as well, so he rolls action dice from the use pile. These must be continuous action dice, according to the rule book, when you use gadgeteer. Lovely and cheap there, 0.01 on the fielding cost, 2 cost to purchase. He's got quite nice defensive stats as well for that price. But what you'd also see is an element of control applied to this list with the Green Devil mask, so that further stretch of synergy was used with the list to put a little element of control to keep your opponent's field nice and where you want it, light basically, while you're getting on with your attacking with your mask characters and generating loads of masks. And it's not uncommon to see Clayface with the Clayface Global that lets you pull a dice in from the news pile with these guys. It's also not uncommon to see Static Fields or Kate Bishop, Distraction Global Kate Bishop, to pull back your mask characters once you've used them, because you have loads of masks basically hanging around in your reserve pool. You might as well use them for something. So there you go, the mini lantern ring. Again, I'll remind you folks, really love to know if you've played around with the mini lantern ring team. What kind of things did you top your team up with? What kind of combos were you using? I'd really be interested. Let me get that out properly. I'd really be interested to know if anyone used a different Justice League character as the kind of focal point of that. So getting your Green Lantern out and then something else with perhaps a different energy type. I've often wondered if there's something in bolts, using Hawkmen, but I've never fully looked into it. Maybe you have. Let me know. Okay, keeping this trainer rolling, because I think it's already getting quite long. I've gone for a beatdown team. There's my beatdown monster. Fixit. Here he is, Fixit. Top 2 US Nationals 2018, and has always been hovering around. You see them quite frequently, and in fact, a Fixit, although not this particular one I'm focusing on, featured very heavily in the 2-team takedown recently that was won by our man Jordo. But here he is, Mr. Fixit, 6-cost fist, muscle for hire. When Mr. Fixit is damaged, he gets plus X attack, where X is his printed attack value. So if you roll him in at level 3 on 8-8, and then manage to damage him twice, then you've got yourself a 24 attack character coming down the field at your opponent. Not easy to do. He's a 6-cost to buy in the first instance. He's got a 3-cost fielding at that top level, so he's not a cheap guy to get out. But the damage potential with this guy as a big old beastly beat stick, is not to be overlooked. Here's how you get that damage on him. The magic missile. We've used it with Iceman previously. We're going to use it with Fixit. So in your main step, you can give him a little chip, 2 bolts to hit him twice to then get that extra damage, extra attack stat. Gordon Bennett, Chris. This is it. I may consider re-recording this. I may not. If I put it out as it is right now, then I apologise for all the kind of tripping over my words and stuff. I'm actually doing a midnight recording of this right now, because that's how dedicated I am to getting video content out in front of your eyeballs, folks. That's how much I love you guys. Even though I'm probably telling you stuff you don't already know anyway. But hey, enjoy the symbols that I dug up from the depths of the internet. So yeah, Magic Missile, use the bolts, ping your Fixit in the main step, get him pumped up. You only need to ping him twice, maybe 3 times if you've got him on the level 1 to make him capable of killing your opponent in 1 hit. But you need to get him through. What if your opponent's got things going on? Well, That's where something like the Hellfire Club comes in. If you control the character die with the highest attack, KO all other character dice. It's a 4-cost action. So what you do is you get your Fixit out in the field, ping him with Magic Missile once or twice, get the highest attack in the field. I'd be very surprised if your opponent's got a 24 attack character in the field, although actually with WWE, that may even be possible. And then fire your Hellfire Club off, kill everything except for your Fixit. Did you like that dramatic silence there? Yeah, that's right, except for your Fixit. So empty field and then just charge him over for the damage. Now, there's a few things that he's at risk from, but one of the things that has challenged players trying to make Fixit work is his expensive purchase cost. So cards like the Kree Captain with his global there to discount it to get it out cheaper. Ring of Winter is another example. Using clay faces to manipulate your energy with the clay face global that lets you pull dice in from the use pile. That's one of the challenges there. Also, one of the challenges is global usage. The thing that haunts combat damage killers like Fixit is the distraction, blink, transmutation, Kate Bishop-y, static field-y, global, whichever one we're referring to it as nowadays, that pushes back attackers. And I'll show you a card in a minute for the next team on the list that deals with that. So there you go, there's your Fixit Beat-Down. Now onto another kind of beat-downy, beastly creature, and probably the most appropriate one for this symbol that I've chosen to represent this idea, because I'm going to talk about the Gold Dragon Rush. And kind of a bit aggro-y too, although I must admit Fixit can be quite aggro-y. Lucan's team, or El Segundo as he's better known, it was all about rushing, not only getting the Fixit out, but getting to him quick so it's happening before your opponent can even figure out what's happening. But the Gold Dragon Rush relies on this card here, really. Ring of Winter, 2-cost bolt. This card is madness, in my opinion. This is like utterly insane, the game text on this. Move each dragon character die in your use pile in the field zone at level 2, and then it's got a global on it. Pay a bolt once per turn. The next die you purchase with a purchase cost 6 or more costs 2 less. So not only does it get you a big scaly dragon, not only does it give you a big scaly dragon at level 3, at the biggest and scariest it can be, not only can you buy this dice for only 2, a bolt and another, but it's also got a global on it that helps you get the big, scary, scaly dragon for cheaper. Crazy. Thank God it's max 1. But there you go, Ring of Winter. And the reason it's called Gold Dragon Rush is because the Gold Dragon is the popular card to play with it. And the reason the Gold Dragon is a popular card to play with it is because he's got big beefy stats and he's got that Breath Weapon 3. So he can clear out all those weenies that your opponent might have managed to get out early doors, so that you've got an open field to charge the Gold Dragon through. So get your Ring of Winter purchased up in turn 1. Then in turn 2, get your Gold Dragon purchased up. You'll have done some shenanigans maybe with using the Ring of Winter Global, using Kree Captain Globals, maybe manipulating your energy with that Clayface Global as well. In fact, maybe I should do a video. I've referenced those a lot through this. Maybe I should do a follow-up video that digs deeper into them. Let me know if that's something you'd like to see, folks. And so, yeah, get your dragon out quick and then rush him over. Breath Weapon 3, clear out anything your opponent may have managed to hustle together in the first couple of turns. Do 3 damage to your opponent from the Breath Weapon and then follow it up with the 7 damage, because, of course, don't forget, your Ring of Winter dice has pulled that bad boy in on level 3. Of course, the Gold Dragon, some of the same risks that I've talked about for some of the other teams leading up to this point. It's very susceptible to globals that push back attacking characters. So you quite often see Gold Dragon and also Fixit previously paired up with this Wonder Woman, the Child of Clay, that doesn't allow your opponent to target your characters with globals. You also see, too far, too fast. Go back, Chris. Why is that little animation not working? Oh, what a disappointment I am sometimes. I disappoint myself. Well, that was a Sarat there to use his global to re-roll the Ring of Winter if you whiff it. That's what that was all about. But I've clearly not set my animation very well there. All right, well, I think if I remember correctly, I do remember correctly, that concludes my little whistle-stop tour of some of the kind of key archetypal teams from the 2018-2019 modern meta. I am certain I've missed something out. It is inevitable. that I missed something out. So why don't you give me a shout and let me know if there's an archetypal team list that was popular over that kind of 2-year modern meta period that I've not mentioned. Let me and other players know in the comments below. Also, as I mentioned through the video, give me a shout if there's some interesting ideas. Those are 3 or 4 cards that form the basis of the team, but there's a 10-card team at your disposal there. What kind of other things do top teams up with? Is there any jank out there that's like going to really switch me on? Make me excited. Again, let me know in the comments below. Also, do the like and subscribe and blah 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 blah. We'd love to get up to 150 subscribers. We're at 107 right now. So get your mum to subscribe, get your granny to subscribe, get your sister to subscribe, get your dad to subscribe, all your cousins. Create accounts for your kids and sign them up because we're a very child-friendly channel. And then we'll and then we'll get up to 150, and that'll make us feel validated and help our fragile egos survive just a little bit longer. Otherwise we'll disappear into obscurity. Well, I won't, but Andy might. So, yeah, there you go. So let me know anything else, anything I've missed, any other thoughts. What would you top the teams up with? Like and subscribe, blah, 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 blah. Go and check out the other videos that take a deeper dive on a couple of those teams, or go and see some of the gameplay videos that take place using some of those teams. But in the meantime, folks, thank you for joining me today for this Having a Brew episode. Sincerest apologies for the midnight recording mess that it's turned out to be, but I'm not going to re-record it now because I really need to go to bed soon. And I will see you next time. See you later, folks. Ta-da.